Hey guys, welcome to another Learning 40k video. This is video 2 in this series, and we are in Steven's first game. The last video, last Wednesday, if you want to go check it out, covered up to the end of deployment. I was unable to seize the initiative. We went into Steven's first turn. This video now covers up all the way to his the end of his shooting phase, so to the beginning of the assault phase. It's about 25 minutes long, and the next video is going to be about the same. Anyways, this game did end pretty quickly, so it ended turn 2, so it's not a whole lot left. But anyways, what I do is I set the camera up on a tripod, and I just go through it, and I'm explaining what's happening and what he's doing. So just take a listen. It's good to see if you've never played 40k. Good to hear. And if you see any mistakes or if you see anything I got wrong, let me know. I do apologize. I do speak quickly, and sometimes I do mumble my words. But other than that, enjoy, and let me know what you think, guys. Now on to the video. Okay, so first turn. At the beginning of the turn, we have the movement phase. Actually, and in the movement phase, deep strike reserves come first. Normally, there's only 30 units that can deep strike first turn, such as drop pods or something. But you also have a special rule that allows you to roll for reserves first turn. Okay. So you have your Terminator squad with the librarian. Yeah. So now let's roll to see if they come in. You roll a dice, one dice. Yeah, because they're one unit. And they do come in on a 5-up. Okay. So they're in. So now you could choose anywhere on the board. You take one model. Take the librarian. It doesn't really matter which model you take. You could choose. Now you place that model anywhere on the board. You roll 2 dice 6 and the scatter dice. And you basically end up where you are. If you land in terrain such as, you know, a rock, a forest, or whatever, you'll get If you land in terrain such as a rock or a forest, you'll take a dangerous terrain test like we already talked about. So on a 2+, on a 1+, you'll take a wound, and then you get your armor save. So on a 2+, you ignore that wound. So that's not bad. But if you scatter onto any model, friendly or foe, or you fall off the table, you have to take a mishap roll. So basically, you roll on a table, and on a roll of a 1 on a d6 table, the unit's destroyed. A 2 or 3, I get to choose to place it wherever I want on the board, or 4, 5, or 6, it goes into ongoing reserves. So basically it comes down next turn, and ongoing reserves means you don't have to roll for it, so it automatically comes in, you get the deep strike again. So you kind of want to be hilarious, but you also got to see, well, you got a pretty high strength weapon in there, so that'd be good at cracking this.
Okay, so I'm gonna try. We'll see if he can come down over here.
Perfect. So now you grab the scatter dice and 2 dice 6.
Scatter 2d6.
Now, for those we should explain what a scatter dice. Scatter dice is a special Dice Games Workshop has released. Basically, it has 2 of these guys. That means you automatically hit. That's a hit. Or it has 4 arrows. Now, if you roll an arrow on the board, you just move that much. You go in that direction, basically. So if you're deep striking, you'd move the whole unit that direction. If you're shooting a weapon, you would move the weapon in that direction. But anyway, so roll 2 dice 6 in the scatter dice. So 5 inches.
5 inches
back. So we're going to move the direction of the dice, and we move the full 5 inches back. Warhammer, like in 40k, like fantasy, you always want to either move from the back of the base to the back of the base, or the front of the base to the front of the base. So you don't want to be moving, well, I'm going to move here from the front to the back, because then you lose out on distance. Or you don't want to say, I'm going to move from the back to the front, because then you gain distance. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose your back of your base, and we're going to start at the back of your base, and we're going to put the back of your base right at the 5 inches. So your back of the base moves 5 inches back.
And now they all go in with him?
Yeah, so now they're part of his unit, so now they have to circle him. So you have to make base to base circle around him.
Okay.
And if for some reason you can't do one circle, you then start another circle. So base to base. Okay, good. Now here's, we actually grabbed, we got
the wrong,
It's okay, we got a cannon guy, but that's okay, we'll just grab one of my guys so we don't have to get all your stuff. There we go. Okay, so now here's something important to remember. These guys, you can't move now. So in the movement phase, they deep struck, that's it. Yeah. Because of your detachment, you get a bonus that you can shoot and run in your shooting phase. We'll talk about that when we get there. Okay. But you still have to be leery. This is the most important guy in the squad. He has a cannon. He's got the highest. He's got the most shooting. You don't want him up front. So if these guys turn around, he's going to be dying first, right? So it's important to try. When movement is very important, not as important in fantasy, but still pretty important in 40k because we want to keep the good guys around, right? So put them at the back. So if these guys turn around and shoot, you got all this dying first. He turns around and shoots, you got all that dying first. Pretty simple. So we got to protect our guy. So this is done now. Reserve phase is done now. Normal movement phase. I guess there isn't a reserve phase, but it just happens at the start of the movement phase. So now him. Okay, let's not fall off right, Dave. Yeah, they might be a bit shaky, but they hold. Don't worry. Me and my brother sit on them all the time.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have to know what type of movement people are. Most things in 40k, such as a Terminator, move 6 inches.
Okay.
So I would say a good 70% of things in 40k's movement is 6 inches. Maybe not, maybe about 60%. And then there are special unit types. Bikes move 12 inches. Now the Dread Knight normally only moves 6 inches. He's a monstrous creature, so he normally only moves 6 inches. But we took the upgrade that makes him into a jump. And I think it's a jump infantry. Basically, he's a jumping monstrous creature. So he moves 12 inches normally. So he moves 12 inches on any movement phase. And he has a one-use item that we gave him that turned him into the jump pack, where he can teleport 30 inches once at any movement phase. But he can't charge after he teleports. So he can move 30 inches anywhere on the board, ignoring any terrain or any guys, as long as he doesn't land on top of impassable terrain or on top of guys. But there's really no use to that. If I was you, what I would do is you want to get in charging range, because he's a beast in charging. So he gets moved 12 inches. I would move 12 inches towards closest thing.
Towards the bikes.
Towards the bikes.
No, correct me if I'm doing this wrong.
No, you could do front of the base to front of the base.
From the center, right?
I don't know, not from the center. Choose the front of the base, and you move to the front of the base, or the back of the base to the back of the base. So right up. There we go. Very good. Okay, and there we have it. So he movement. So now your movement phase is done. They move. They can't move because they destruct in the movement phase.
Yeah.
And he moved this 12 inches. He's done nothing else to move. Next phase. So we've done this phase. You go to the next phase, which is the psychic phase. Okay, so kind of like fantasy, kind of not. They really changed it in this edition. Watch the cord, please, Anthony. Sorry, guys. It's just, I know. So they really changed it in 7th edition. Now we count our mastery levels on the board first of all. So he's mastery level 1.
Okay.
To determine what mastery levels, I don't really know if it says. I think it does, but it's easy. I know he's mastery level 1, so that's 1. Your Terminator squad itself is a mastery level 1 as well, and your librarian's mastery level 2. So 1, 1, 1, and 2. So we get 4 dice in our pool. And how many psychics do I have? Well, I have none, so I get 0 dice in my pool so far. You, the players who turn it is, then rolls a d6, and we both add that amount of dice to it. 6. So you add 6 dice, and I add 6 dice. 6. Okay. So we know how many warp charges we got. Each card, if you look on it, has up there, it says warp charge. This one says warp charge 1.
I was gonna say your finger was on the card.
No, but it showed though.
Yeah.
So warp charge 1. So that's how many successes we need. These are warp charges, basically.
Okay.
For you to have a successful warp charge, you need to roll the dice, and it needs to be 4 up. Each 4 up counts as a successful warp charge.
And if it says warp charge 2, you need to roll 2 dice?
You need, well, you need to have 2 4s. You choose how many dice you want to roll.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so now statistically, for warp charge 2, you need 2. For warp charge 2, 1 dice. Sorry, warp charge 1 dice is going to give you 50% chance, right? Because 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6. You roll 4, 5, 6, it goes off. 2 dice give you a 75%, no, 66% chance. So you guys probably know this, but the more dice you add, the better it gets.
Yeah.
So you have to divide. You have 10 dice, and you have some spells you want to get off, basically. So for over here, we have Sanctuary, which gives +1 to their invul, right? And the Librarian had Sanctuary. What else did he get?
You got Sanctuary and Purge Soul.
And read what Purge Soul does.
Purge Soul is a focused Witchfire power with a range of 24 inches. Both the Psyker and the target model roll a d6. Add their respective leadership values. If the target's total is greater than the Psyker's result, nothing happens. If if the Psyker's total is greater than or equal to the target's total, the target model suffers an automatic wound with no armor saves or cover saves allowed. Per soul has no effect on vehicles.
Perfect. Okay, so basically now Witchfire power is a shooting type power in the psychic phase. So normally in Warhammer, in the shooting phase, most units can only shoot at one unit. So this unit is choosing to shoot here, everything has to shoot at it. Whereas in the psychic phase, if they choose to shoot at one unit, well, that they can still shoot in the psychic phase. If they shoot a psychic power that's a shooting psychic power, or Witchfire power at a unit, they can still choose a separate unit to fire at in the shooting phase itself. But I wouldn't use that for simplicity, and what we want to do is we want to make the guys more resilient. This guy has Sanctuary, so that's going to give him +1 to the invul. These guys also, so the Librarian himself has Sanctuary, and if you read the Sanctuary, it says the Psyker and his unit. So you can boost. Now Terminator armors normally also have a 5-up invul. They have a 2-up armor save and a 5-up invul. So you're going to give them a 4+ invul. So for if it was me playing, I want to get both of those spells off first.
Okay.
Now here's the catch though. So you got to get 4-ups to cast a spell. So if you want to cast Sanctuary, just Warp Charge 1, you roll 3 dice. You get 2 4-ups. That means it goes off on 2 dice. And if at any point you roll 2 6s, you then suffer the Perils of the Warp, which is similar to Fantasy's Irresistible Force.
Yeah.
I still have the chance to stop it, but you have to roll on a table. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all bad. The higher you get, the less bad it is. 1, you have a chance just to kill them all straight out. Not as easy as it is in Fantasy, but there's still a chance. 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 on Warp. If you roll a 2, you forget a power and you take an automatic wound. If you roll a 3, you take an automatic wound and you lose D3 charge dice. If you roll a 4, you take an automatic wound. If you roll a 5, you take a leadership test. And if you pass the leadership test, nothing happens. If you fail it, you take a wound. We'll explain what leadership tests are in a second. And on a 6, you go Super Saiyan. If you pass the leadership test, you get a big list of buffs. Doesn't matter. Okay. But now, so once it goes off, now I get to choose to use how many dice I want to use out of my pool to try and dispel.
Okay.
But because I'm dispelling, I'm at a disadvantage. I have to get 6s.
Okay.
And if you cast Sanctuary and it's a Warp Charge 1 spell and you get 2 successes, I have to cancel out all the successes for the spell to be stopped. So it doesn't matter if you got a Warp Charge 2 and it goes off. Let's say you got a Warp Charge 2 spell and you roll 2 4s. And I cancel one of them. Your spell goes off. I have to stop everything for it to go off. Pretty simple?
Yeah. Sounds simple anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see here. Sanctuary. So we want to get the spells off.
Yeah. So I'm going to try and activate Sanctuary on Librarian and his unit, I guess.
Yep. Okay. So now, for me, I use 3 dice on Sanctuary normally. 3 dice gives you, I believe it's a 75% chance, right? Because it's still dice, and you can still roll not for. But let's think there. So you got 3 dice, and so that's going to be 6 of your dice. You still have 4 dice left over. Banishment is good, but you can also cast Hammerhand on them, buffing them +2 strength. So if I was you, I'd use 3 dice. Yep.
Okay.
So try and roll it a bit so the camera can see. I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up, but that's a scatter dice.
Just move the scatter dice.
Oh wait, so it goes off on 2 successful. And that was on him, right? Well, no, that was on the Librarian.
Yeah, that was.
So I'm going to let that go off. I'm not going to try. So basically, just remember that Sanctuary is casting them. They get +1 to their invul save.
Okay.
Alright, now, so you use 3 out of your 10 dice. So you still have 7 dice left.
So I'm going to try and use 3 more, and you can use Sanctuary more than once. It's not like
each
Fantasy?
No. No, because it's separate guys that know.
Okay.
So you can cast each Psyker, or in this case your squad of Psykers, they're called Brotherhood of Psykers, can cast each spell they know. They can steal, because you put all your mastery levels into one pot, you can use as many you want, but you can only cast each spell once for a unit. Each unit can only cast each spell once. So you cast Sanctuary here, you can still cast Sanctuary there.
Okay, each per unit, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll try Sanctuary on my Dread Knight.
So it goes off on 1. So what I'll do, so now you got 1 success, so I have to cancel this 1 success by getting a 6 for that to stop. So that's what I'm going to try to do. And I did not get a 6 with any of my dice, so it goes off now.
Okay.
So now I have no dice left, so I have no chance of dispelling your spells, basically.
And I might as well just use all of them since there's only 4 left. I want to try and activate Hammer Hand.
Hammer Hand, and that's on
Yeah.
the Psyker, so that's the Terminators and the Librarian's part of the squad. So +2 strength. And it goes off on 3 with no perils.
Yeah.
So there you go. So now we know that these guys got +1 to their invul. The Gen Knight has +1 to the invul, and this whole squad has +2 strength in combat. That doesn't add to the weapons. That just adds to the strength profile.
Okay.
Pretty easy. Okay, so now the psychic phase is done. You got no warp charge spells up. If there's a vortex on the board, we'd have to move the vortex and whatnot, but there's no vortexes. There's not many vortexes. Grey Knights do have one. That's a pretty good one, but we'll go over that if it comes up. Okay, psychic phase over. Now we have shooting phase. So now we have the shooting phase. Now each infantry model, such as this, so each Terminator, each Marine basically, can only shoot one weapon, even if they have multiple weapons. So for instance, these guys don't have multiple weapons, but these guys, the bikes, they have the bike bolter, or they have their weapon themselves. He's a Marine, so he can only choose to shoot one weapon. Monstrous creatures, such as this guy, can shoot 2 weapons, up to 2 weapons. He doesn't have 2 weapons, you only paid for the 1 weapon, but if he, let's say, had the flamer, he could shoot that as well. And I'm pretty sure that goes for characters too, they can only shoot 1 weapon. I might be wrong, you can correct me on that, I've never seen a character shoot more than 1 weapon. But anyways, so what we do is you choose the unit, and you choose its target. So go ahead, which unit do you want to shoot first?
I guess we'll start with him.
Okay, and where is he shooting?
He is shooting the bikers.
Okay, so his weapon is a side cannon. Or yeah, that's what they call it, I believe, a side cannon. It's like an auto cannon with Psyker bullets. His range is 24 inches. So look it up. Heavy side cannon is. No, it'd be on the front page, and under the ranged weapon, heavy side cannon.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, no problem.
Heavy side cannon.
What does it read for its profile?
Well, it's got focused fire or area saturation.
Okay, yeah, so now what focus fire means is, so basically what that points down to is you can either use a large blast marker, or you can choose to do a 6-shot weapon. Normally, unless you're shooting at a big squad of orc boys, you're going to use a 6, because let's say you place the large blast, you're going to hit 5 bikes. If it scatters, you're going to miss. Whereas the 6-shot gives you an option to hit 6 times. So use a 6-shot. Okay. Now its strength is 7.
Yeah.
And its armor penetration is 4. So that means if these guys had a 4 plus or higher armor, 5 or 6, they wouldn't get their armor save. The armor save is 3 plus, so you're not ignoring my armor. But it has a special rule of rending. So once you roll to hit, and then you roll to wound, on a roll of a 6, the AP goes from 4 to 2. So then you're then ignoring my armor save.
Okay.
And then I have to choose. Okay, so now we have to roll to see if you hit. What's your ballistic skill on the Dread Knight? Let's look at our ballistic skills.
My ballistic skill is 4.
Okay, so to see what you need to hit, I do it this way. Until you get to ballistic skill 6, this works. But basically, take your ballistic skill, and you take 7. You take 7 minus your ballistic skill from it. So 7 minus 4 is 3. You need 3 plus to hit.
Okay.
And this is where I choose if I want a jinx save. So I can choose to take an armor, because there's a chance you're going to ignore my armor save and just kill some bikes. What I'm going to like to do is jinx save. That means that I normally get a 4-up cover save, but I could choose a 3 plus cut, but I get +3. So if you ignore my armor save with a reddening hit, I will then get a 3 plus jinx save instead of my 3 plus armor save. Pretty simple. Okay, so we take our 6 shots. You need 3 plus to hit. That's a cocked. Yeah, we can reroll that. Okay, so you take out the misses, you leave the hits. So if you had something that would allow you like reroll your hits, you reroll those, but you don't. So those are your hits. Now to wound. Let's take. I'm pretty sure it's the same as fantasy. You're strength 7. So in fantasy, if you were strength 7 and I was toughness 4, what would you need to wound?
2s.
2s. Same thing here. Basically, if the strength and toughness is equal, it's 4s. If it's 1 higher, like if your strength is 1 higher, you need 3s. If it's 2 or higher, you need 2s. So 2 or higher. So if you have 6 or higher, or if just for, I know you know this, but just for the guys looking, maybe they don't know how to play. Or if your strength is 1 lower than my toughness, you need 5 soon. If it's 2, 3, if it's 2 or 3 lower, you need 6 soon. If your strength is 4, I guess, is it 4 strength lower than my toughness? So let's say I'm toughness 8 and you're strength 3 or strength 4, you can't harm me in shooting.
Flare up. I think that's how it works.
But that, for the camera, that's how it is. Okay, so you need 2 ups. And remember, 6 is ignore my armor save, but I get a 3+ save no matter what. Okay, and 1s are always fails to wound. So 1s fail. So that's 3 wounds now. 2 of them are rending. Since you're shooting, you get to choose what you want me to take first, my rending or my normal ones. Now it doesn't matter because I got a 3+ armor save on the normal ones or a 3+ cover save. So it's all the same thing. Easy enough?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically I take saves. So I failed twice. Now wounds are taken off closest models in 40k. So I lost. So each of these models have 1 wound because they're bikes. My HQ actually has more than 1 wound. So 2 wounds were successful. So I lose 1 wound. 2 wounds. 2 guys are dead. That's simple. He has no weapons left, so that shooting is over now. And now we have these guys shooting. And the Terminators, where are they going to elect to shoot?
They're going to try to shoot the Rhino.
Rhino, okay, so you're shooting at, so now, when you shoot at a vehicle in 40k, you hit the armor, you're facing. So, you're going to be hitting my rear armor. Rhinos have toughness 11 on the front armor. Toughness, armor value 11 on the front and side and 10 in the back. But you have different types of weapons in this unit, so you have to decide which weapon you want to shoot first. Each of these 4 guys have a storm bolter, and this guy has a side cannon. The librarian didn't purchase any shooting weapon, so he only has a close combat weapon. So, your storm bolters are strength 6, so they can hurt my armor 10 on getting a 6. So to see if you hurt a vehicle, it's you gotta equal the armor value or get higher. If the strength of your gun plus the dice roll on your armor penetration roll equals the armor, you glance. If it's higher than the armor, you penetrate, and then there's a penetrating table we roll on to see what happens to the vehicle. So there's strength 4. So strength 4 can hurt armor 10 on a roll of a 6. And your side cannon is the same weapon he has, but it only has 4 shots. That's basically all the difference. And his side cannon has salvo. Now what salvo is a salvo weapon has 2 profiles. I think it's 2, 4. So basically normally if a normal infantry guy has salvo and they move, you use the first profile. So you use it. So this is 2-4. So if this was on a normal infantry guy, not a Terminator, and he moved, you would use the lowest profile 2, and he can only shoot half his range. So he can only shoot 12 inches max. Okay. If he would have stayed put, he'd get to use the 4 and the 20-foot range. But because you're a Terminator and you have the special rule called Relentless, you can move and still shoot salvo weapons as if you didn't move, or heavy weapons as if you didn't move. So same thing with bikes. Bikes give the Relentless 2. Easy enough. So he can shoot his 4 shots at 20-foot range. So basically, what's his ballistic skill?
His ballistic skill is 4.
All Marines are always 4. I'm just for the sake of checking, but all Marines are always 4. Okay, so what do you need to hit then? You take 7, you minus 4. 3 plus.
3s.
Yep. So let's do that.
Let's see.
We take out our misses. There's no rerolls, unfortunately. Okay. So we got 2 hits. And what is our back armor? We already said it's 10. So to do damage to it. You strike 7.
I need 3 plus.
3 plus. So reroll those dice.
Reroll.
Okay, good. So you got 1 glance and 1 penetrating hit. You can choose which wound I take first.
I don't know.
The glance just takes a hull point off. I got no cover save. This Rhino has no save at all, basically. He's stuck there. Well, he's not stuck there. I just got no save. There's nothing in front of him. He doesn't have a jinx. He's not like a flyer or a skimmer where I would get a jinx save. he just takes a wound. So for the sake, he takes 1 wound. I always count down. So he takes 1 wound, he's down to 2, and the penetrating hit now. Okay, so there's a penetrating table. It used to be, if you penetrated, you could explode a vehicle. Not any penetrating hit could explode a vehicle. Now it's changed. For you to explode a vehicle, you need to roll a 7. Obviously, it's not possible to roll a 7 on a d6 dice, so you have to add modifiers. If the strength of the weapon is AP2, it adds +1 to your dice roll. If it's AP1, it adds +2 to your dice roll. And if I have an open top vehicle, which I don't, it adds an additional +1. Your strength, the AP of your weapon is only AP4, so you don't get any modifiers, nor am I open top. So it's impossible for you to explode me. So this tank's going to be around after the shooting, unless your bolters finish it off. But roll a dice and we'll see what happens. Because there's still a table we have to consult. 4. Now what that is 1, 2, and 3 is crew shaken. That means that the vehicle can only shoot snapshots. 4 is crew shaken and stunned. That means the vehicle cannot move and have to fire snapshots. 5 is weapon destroyed. That means I would lose a weapon. It has no weapons, so it wouldn't really matter. But if it did, I would lose that weapon. If it had multiple weapons, we would then roll randomly to see what happens. And 6 is immobilized. Immobilized means I can't move for the rest of the game, and I have to stay the way I'm facing. If you were to score a farther immobilized resist hit on it, he would lose 2 hull points compared to the 1. Okay, so he's down to 1 hull point, and he's stunned. He can't move, and the vehicle has to fire snapshot. So now you have your bolters, your storm bolters. Now, what is a storm bolter profile?
Storm bolter profile.
I did. I thought it was like
24-inch range, strength 4, AP 5, assault 2.
Okay, so it's AP 5. AP doesn't really matter unless it's AP 1 or 2 when shooting at a vehicle. 24-inch range, obviously with range on all of them.
Yeah.
Assault 2 means they each get 2 shots each. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 guys with that weapon. So 8 shots.
8.
Okay, so we need the ballistic skill 4 because it's a space marine. So you need 3s to hit. Take out your misses, you leave your hits. Just, there's no official rule in the 40k rule that talks about that. But just if you ever play somebody who's really weird about cheating or something like that, if you leave your hits and you take out the misses compared to like picking up your hits really quickly, like, hey, I got 7 hits. You know, it's just too, that's the way it's done. Okay, so those are your hits. Now, it's strength 4 against armor 10, meaning you need 6s to glance. It's impossible for you to penetrate.
Okay.
So 1 6 and my vehicle's dead because it had 3 hull points and it's down to 1. No.
And no.
Okay, so it's still good. So my vehicle is left with 1 hull point and it's stunned. So now is the end of the shooting phase. If any unit that is not fearless is a special roll, took more than 25, if any unit lost more than 25% of the total unit, they have to take what's called a leadership test. My Marines are not fearless, so they have to take a leadership test. What a leadership test is I take the highest value in normal circumstances. This is a special rule where I take the highest leadership value. He is leadership 10. So I got to equal to or lower, got to get equal to or lower than my leadership to pass. If I get higher, so an 11 or 12, I fail my leadership test. If I fail my leadership test, I then run away from you.
Okay.
It's like retreating in fantasy. So they pass. 4, obviously lower. Now these guys, since this guy's inside of there, and this tank suffered a stun, which means he can't move, he can only fire a snapshot. The guys inside have to take a leadership test. If they pass the leadership test, nothing happens to them and they can jump out of the vehicle and do stuff. If they fail the leadership test, they then suffer the same result the tank did. So they can't move and they can only fire snapshots. So this would be useless.
Yep.
Now I have normal Marines in there, so they're only leadership 8. And I failed it. So that means they're stuck inside the tank. They can't move outside of the tank, and they can only fire snapshots. But there is no firing ports to see out of to shoot at you. So my firing port's in the front. So basically this unit's stuck there for this turn. It can't do anything. And these guys are good. So all the leadership tests have been done. That's the end of the shooting phase. Next we have the assault phase.